Hello, dear lovers of printed surfaces. I'm Gabriele Chiapparini. Welcome to Small Photobook Cult. Maude Arsenault's Entangled mark a definitive shift in the artist's career, moving from the world of fashion photography to a rigorous exploration of contemporary feminine identity. This book is an honest, often haunting meditation on the pressure of motherhood, domesticity, and the ideological traps imposed on women. Through a carefully composed series of portraits, still life, and documentary images, Arsenault turns the lens inward to question her own role in transmitting models of femininity and to find the quiet power in seeking self-determination within the domestic frame. Welcome to this new episode of Small Photobook Cult. Here we are with Maude Arsenault. Hello, Maude. I'm really glad to speak with you today.
Hi, I'm very happy to be here too. Thank you for inviting me.
It's a great pleasure. These two books are two books that I really love. Together, I think they make an amazing duo of books. Are they connected in some way, right?
Yes, totally. I mean, it wasn't planned to be two books, but it started with Entangled, and then it became obvious that my next book was definitely directly linked to the first book, so they became a duo for sure.
So let's start from Entangled. The first question is always this one. What brought it about?
Yeah, I mean, Entangled and Resurfacing are both very personal books. Entangled is really the beginning of a really new path for me, a new life, a new creative life as well. I mean, before I made Entangled, and before I had a more like art practice in photography, I was a commercial fashion photographer, and I had also a very personal practice as a fashion photographer, but I was always like sort of debating why I was doing that. And then life brought me to have 3 children. And for my last pregnancy, which was in 2013, I had a very difficult pregnancy. I was older, and I had to stop working, and sort of changed my professional life because I had never stopped working, even for my 2 other children, and I sort of went into a bit of an existential crisis because I sort of lost my independence. I lost most of my clients. I stopped traveling. I stopped making money. So I went into a bit of a dark hole of not knowing what I was about anymore. I was suddenly stuck at home with 3 kids. I went through a pretty dark time, and for a few years, I was really wondering what was going on with my relationship with photography, but also my relationship to motherhood and to being a woman. And all through this, my daughter was growing up, and she was becoming a young teenager, like 12, 13. And then I basically sort of also like noticed how she was going through life and through adolescence, and the way she was looking at the world to become a woman. And it was a really like intense time of reflecting on my life as a woman, as a mother, as a fashion photographer, my relationship with how we represent women in the public sphere through, advertising, fashion, photography, but also just, all that relationship to the power of images, and that the way we construct our identities through what we see in, popular culture, whether it's photography, cinema, advertising, literature. So I started really question my relationship with all these things, and I started making images in the home. Because at that time, as I said, I kind of stopped being fashion photographer. I I was sort of forced to stay at home and being with the children, but also not working anymore much, almost not none. And so all I had left was to, take photos of whatever was around me. And then also going back to school in art history, I decided to really focus on female representation in the art world, and also, questioning a lot of the, gender studies, and really reflecting a lot on how female identities are constructed. So that all led me to making these images for Entangle, as a sort of way of reflecting on all the things that I had inherited from, a patriarchy culture, and also from the male gaze that I felt was sort of something I inherited from looking at images my whole life, and sort of recreating these kinds of images through fashion photography. So it was a really deep time of reflecting on my life as a woman, as a mother, as a fashion photographer, as a woman growing older as well. I was like starting. I was in my 40s when I made these images, and then totally left fashion photography, and really started to reflect on what was next for me. And it became clear that I had to deconstruct my reflection on photography, and how I used it for most of my life, and how I wanted to maybe change that relationship. But also, all that was also very inspired by my daughter and her friends, and their way of looking at the future. So Entangled is really a book about how I felt in my relationship with being a woman, a mother, and being a photographer.
I got the impression that in several images there is a kind of sense of cage, maybe conveyed by the clothes, like here in the right images, and here again. So we see bras that seems to constrain the body, and clothes throw on the floor quite a lot of time.
Yeah, it's definitely, for me, this first book was really my, like through those images, I was like really inclined to look at anything that felt trapped, that felt injured, that felt broken. There's a lot of reflection. There's a lot of like interest also in those, like taking those images. I was sort of unconsciously most of the time, but then when now I can look at them and see that, I was really looking at all the oppressions and sort of violence that are like not the obvious ones, not the oppressions that are like the things that are clearly expressed, but the things that are more like subtle, that talks about how we can feel oppressed and hurt. But there's also elements like this picture in the ocean, and that last pictures, they're a little bit more hopeful. They're also about sorority, and about how we need to escape those sort of what you call cages. So yeah, it's really about that. It's really about how, as a woman, I feel and I felt more then than now, that I was trapped, and that I was feeling I was having a hard time seeing how to escape those traps, for sure.
And in this body of work, the body itself is looked like a bit fragmented. Was it a conscious choice, or is something that you notice after shooting?
Yeah, I think I don't think any of these images were made in a conscious way. I made these images as a bit of an act of survival. They didn't at the time. I don't think I had capacity of really looking at them with distance. So, I mean, all these images were just like made out of repulsion, like of something that I needed to do from what, like very impulsively, very spontaneous. Most of the things that I do are very spontaneous, but now I've done a lot of work since then. I've done a lot of writing and studying, and now I understand more what I'm doing. But at the time, I think I didn't know. I was just like feeling the impulse to make these images, and those, like that drawing, for example, which is really a drawing that I made while I was really not going well, and I felt. Now that I look at it, it's so obvious that it's like there's a lot of violence in that drawing. There's a lot of pain. And I mean, this was really like, the sort of kind of traditional conception of art being something that comes from where we are in our lives. And that at the time, I didn't really realize that all that was going on. I knew, I sort of figured it out while I was making the book. But I think the more I see and live with this body of work, the more I understand things about where I was and where I'm now and how I felt at the time. Which, so this was really more of a impulsive sort of act of survival of what I was going through at the time, which obviously talks a lot about bodies and the idea of fragmentation. I think it's probably also an intention of not revealing too much of the people I was shooting. I'm very careful using young women or family members not to reveal too much. So I like to go close and to keep a distance with the subject. I think that's what it is.
Speaking about the text, you decide to start. There are not so much text in the book, but you start with this quote from Virginia Woolf.
I had to make some choices. I felt that this whole project was very inspired by me reading A Room of One's Own from Virginia Woolf, which I knew for a long time, but I read it again maybe around 2016. And, as I said, I was at a place in my life where I felt very trapped in the home and also very trapped in decision I made in my life that I felt like was sort of pushed onto me by certain way society imposed on women a way to be and behave and choices to make. So that's why this quote felt really right to express how, for me, becoming an older woman made me realize that illusions or some of the things that I expected for and from my life as a younger me, didn't happen. and there's a lot of melancholy in this book. There's a lot of deception. There's a lot of regret, or there's a lot of scars. So yeah, that quote, felt like it was enough to bring the viewer into my the body of work, basically. And that first image for me is this first spread is very clear about what I'm talking about here. Is like I'm looking at my daughter looking at me with a camera, so we're both looking at each other. She might be 14 or 15 on that picture, and we're both looking at each other next to that little, pink house, which for me was like an archetype of the drawing we make as children, like little, we make a house, or we make that little, square and then triangle with the little windows, and that little pink house was like sort of a way for me and her to look at what's coming for us as women, me as an older woman and her as a young woman. What are we looking at, in terms of those archetypes and those expectations and those maybe dreams or illusions we have on what it is to be uh, a woman or mother growing up. Yeah.
Probably more present in the second book, that is resurfacing. But is there an autobiography aspect also in Entangled, right?
I didn't really use. I was really more interested in youth and my daughter and her friends making Entangled. I think that that reflection on the self and then putting myself in front of the camera really came later for resurfacing. Definitely.
Yeah.
I mean, there is a few images in this book that I use of myself or my body, but it was really to translate something else, like the couple or more like sexuality, but it wasn't really about me. It was really more about just translating ideas that I had on the themes of family and what we expect when we're a teenager or a young woman, um, when we look at our future. So yeah, that book is really more about um, sort of transposing my deception on becoming a woman on my daughter's expectations. It was more about like that. It was more about like, what do you see coming up for you, and maybe I can help you not make the same mistakes, in terms of not like personally mistakes that I made, but things that are like being imposed on us as women or as young women. So that was more like my intention in that book.
Maude, when did you understand that this body of work can be a book or let's say a solid project altogether?
Yeah. Well, what happened at the time, I wasn't like having an official form. I was just like making images once in a while around my personal life, and then I was back to school doing art history degree, part time while I was raising my children, and then at some point, I saw uh, an ad on Aperture or something for the Chico review, 2019 retreat in Montana. I was like, I had never done anything like that. I had never done a photo review. I had never done anything with my personal work up to. So I was like, oh, maybe this is an opportunity for me to apply and see what happens. And then I can show some of those personal images I had taken. So I made a little zine, like just on like newspaper. I put a few images that are in the books, in that book, Entangle. And then maybe it was like a 20 pages thing. And then and then I applied and I got selected, which was a huge thing for me. I was like so happy because I had not been out of the house or doing anything about my work for maybe 4 or 5 years. And so I went to Chico in March 2019, and I brought that little zine and a few prints, and it was really exciting because I had never done any review, and suddenly I'm like in front of Mark Steinmetz, Andrea Modica, Todd Heido, Chris McCall, all of them, obviously Clint Woodside, and it was just incredible for me to escape the home for like a week and be there, and it was like terrifying terrifying. Yeah, terrifying. Totally. I was like, I felt so little. And then I met all these people all week. And at some point, I met Clint Woodside from DeadBeat Club. And then he said everyone was very positive about the work. It was a really good um, overall like experience, incredible experience. But Clint said, "There's something there. I'm interested." And I was very surprised because I was like, "Oh, okay." Well, it didn't seem to me like. I mean, I was surprised of that match and that interest from him. And I was like, okay. And then he was like, you should go home and keep on working and get back to me and send me some more stuff. And I came home and got back to being a mom and having, 3 children and having a crazy life. And uh, at that time, I was feeling extremely trapped. It was worse than ever, especially after like that experience. It was so great. And then you come home and you're back to, feeling so isolated. And then months passed by and I didn't do anything. And then at some point through Instagram, we connected and he said, "Hey, I've got your Zen in front of me and, I'm looking at it and I'm like, I haven't heard back from you." I was like, "Okay, Maude, like, get to it. This is the time." So, so I went, and one thing I learned at Chico, which was really something that I didn't know up to then, is like to go back to, archive. So, I think because I was doing fashion photography, for me, anything later than 6 months old was not interesting. It was just unfinished, I was like, "Oh, this is interesting. I can actually go back a year, 2 year, 3 years back to even more than that to some of the work." So I did I dig deep in the archive, in the recent work and everything I had done over the last few years. And then took a while, maybe all summer, to just play with those images. And I made the most stupid and ridiculous dummy made of photocopies. And then one day I just made a video of it and sent it to Clint. And then the next thing I know is he's writing back to me and saying, "I love it. I want to publish it." And I was just like, "Wow, okay, this is fantastic." But at the same time, I was starting my master's degree in fine arts and visual arts. So it was like a really good time of like, it's like, like the wind was starting to change. It suddenly from being isolated and feeling really alone and in a dark place. I had that time at Chico, and then Clint was interested, and I had like digged into the new work, made this little zine, which is pretty similar to the book. Um, and then I was starting art school. So that was all like very exciting. So I sort of got into the process of making the book with Clint. It was super like easy. We got along. He was super respectful of my intentions, and I learned a lot. And we had a really great experience and time working together. And yeah, and the book came out unfortunately like 2 weeks before the pandemic. Yeah, I think first copies were out like at the end of 2019, but we officially launched the book in Mexico at Zona Maco in February 2020. And then Clint and Alex came to Montreal for a launch here in my own city in March. And like I think they got on one of the last planes before, everything crashed. So then the book really sold out really fast in the next 2 months online. So that was amazing.
And now,
So yeah.
now there is the second printing, right?
Yeah, the second printing is also out of print. I mean, it's
Great.
sold out. You can still find it probably in bookshops that still have it, but like from the publisher, it's sold out. Then, we then go off to the next project, which is resurfacing, because once the book, because the book sold out fast, like literally only online. It never went anywhere except for like obviously bookshops who bought it. Basically, it was really sad for me because I was like, oh my God, like I'm finally getting out with this project. And then we're back into the home, and then we're back into like not going anywhere. It's like feeling trapped again, and then not feeling like I could like surf that wave of, going somewhere with my work
Yeah.
and feeling like I could literally slowly get out of, that feeling of, not being where I wanted to be. But it took a while because obviously the pandemic was there for but then a lot of things started to happen, a lot of great news and you know through also art school and other projects, and it just since then it's just been a roller coaster of great news and great project and exciting. So obviously the following years brought me into a completely new life of reconstructing myself and deconstructing a lot of those ideas that I was exploring in Entangle. And that sort of brought me into making resurfacing.
This is an amazing introduction for the next episode.
Yes, I guess so.
I'm going to use it. And how did you choose what pictures to include and which one not in this project, for example? Because you said you went through the archive also. So how was the selection moment? What you want from a pictures to be included in this project?
Yeah, I mean, there was a long process of I especially with this book Entangle, because I had like a first selection for the Zin I brought with me to Montana. So there was like a whole year of selecting images. So the first step was that Zin I made. So I made a lot of selection. Then from discussing the project with all the people there, they gave me a lot of angles that I didn't really realize, like things to look for. And so when I went back to digging into the work, the archives and just more images, I pulled out like another maybe 300 images. And then I printed all this and literally lived. I had a small space, but I lived in that space with just like hundreds of pictures everywhere. And it was almost like I don't know, like a process of just living. I do that a lot. That's just really a way of working for me. I print things like in a really cheap way, like just a office desk printer. And I put it on the wall. So I had like pictures everywhere on the wall, on like boards on the floor, everywhere. And then every day I would just remove stuff. I would just let it sink, and every day I would just like, not that's not talking to me anymore. I was just removing things on a regular basis for days and days and days. And then I would just, it's almost like I was playing like some sort of bingo, like every day coming in the room and just like moving things around and removing things and then placing things next to each other. And then, every day, every moment of the day, it would just talk to me. Images would talk to me until I had a smaller selection. And then I made really, really, really small, like I don't know, like almost 4 or 5 centimeters little prints. And then I played with them on the table, like just like putting them together again, like next to each other, moving them around. And then until days and days later, it was really like a weird thing. Like I'd go out, do something, come home, and then see the things, and then it would be like, oh yeah, no, that's not right. I'm moving things. Until one day I was just like, I think that's kind of it. And then I made like online, like like a Photoshop or InDesign, like computer layout, let's say, because everything else was done like physically through little prints. And then I sort of placed the images like I had placed them on my table. And then I printed that on like a Xerox print and then just put it together. And that's what I sent Clint. So a lot of the sequencing uh, and like the dual presentation on the spread are original of that first draft that I made. we removed a few things and we've moved a few things, and obviously we worked on the cover, which was not like that. So there's been an improvement working with Clint, obviously, and then like a second set of sequencing and working, but it's very close to the original maquette. Yeah.
And some of the pictures that you discard, that you decide not to use, in the end went inside the resurfacing or not?
No. There's no images that were used. Resurfacing is really other work.
Yeah. What relationship you see between the domestic space that are in the pictures and the natural world? Because there are two components that are quite present in all the work.
Yeah, it's an interesting question. I think for me, the at the time, and still is a complicated subject for me, the domestic space or objects related to the domestic space refer in some ways to a place of constraint and a place of oppression, where the natural world represents the opposite, represents opening, freedom, movement. I like to when I'm in a space, I need to be able to look outside and see far away. I don't like to look outside a window in a domestic space where there is no like I don't know the word in English, but like like the horizon. I need to see the horizon. I need to see the sky. I need to see a wide open space. So I think the natural world or spaces are representing that for me, where the home represents a place of, it's more inboxed. It's a place where I feel is also can be a safe space, can be a place of of rest and safety, but also a place where you I think for me as a woman, my heritage, I come from a tradition of Quebec farmers, very, very oppressed by religion, and women were like literally making 14, 15 children, stuck at home, raising those children in poverty. So for me, I think it's in my gene, it's in my genetic, it's something that I've inherited, that the home is not necessarily a place where I feel safe and I feel free, so yeah.
So speaking about society, feminism, the home represent more the social construct to which we like submit ourselves, while nature bring us back to like a kind of state of freedom.
That's very well said. Exactly. Yeah.
And I also see, like I said before, there is a lot of, like underwear can be also, especially in the fashion photography, something that can be really beautiful and sexy. And I think our society built a lot around this. And in your picture, you see something really completely the opposite. There is all the time this movement of, I don't know, I watch this picture and I feel the subject to be completely uncomfortable. And then you see pictures like this one, that is really close to this one. And so probably I really like the way you play with these two elements of the body hair and the clothes. Also here, like there is a dress, but it's in the wrong direction. It's you don't feel this girl, I don't know, like chilling inside a beautiful dress. It's fighting against the dress. So it's I don't know how to say that. It's a book where there is no nudity, not explicit nudity, but it's a bit work that speaks about the freedom to be naked. Why I feel this kind of thing? Is it a wrong, like, is it a wrong interpretation, or there is something around this topic?
Yeah, there is a lot of there's a desire to show how the female construction and the way we represent and we live in our female in our female body could be very constraining and very violent, because for forever, like, you won't have been like forced to wear corset and like those pantyhose. It's not comfortable. It's like also all the how do you call that, the things to make you look skinny, like very tight Spanx or whatever. I mean, I'm not sure how you call that in English. All these elements of fashion and clothing that have been like inscribed in femininity and how a woman should look and how a woman's body should be, especially that idea of like always looking sexy and young and performing femininity in a certain way. That's what I'm trying to express in showing those. I mean, there's a lot of ideas. Like, this image is like two women, and then there's like the church, like wedding chairs you use. So it's like, again, it's like a way to criticize heteronormativity, norms, how we should behave. It's all about that relationship being freedom of being and being constrained by certain like ways of being a woman, being a man, being a human, and just like my desire is sort of to push and criticize that through that book. So it's like that woman sitting from the back wearing a men's suit from like the opposite side is again an intention to criticize that relationship to femininity and maybe a masculinity, and to just throw all the codes back and forth and play with them and just mix them up. So obviously there's like, in a way, in this image, in this spread, there's like a woman's body which is very thin and maybe even skinny in a male suit from like backwards. But then on the other side you have an image of nature that could also look like a representation of the vagina, and something that is a representation of the female body. So I mean, there's like all these elements of femininity and masculinity and all the binaries and all the representation we are constructed with, that I'm interested to play with in that book.
How did the experience of motherhood change the way you look at the camera as a creator and as a subject? As a subject, more for the next book, but in general, how did your approach of taking pictures change?
Well, mainly, I feel very uncomfortable taking pictures. I realize the authoritarian relationship there is of me being behind a camera. I mean, I'm trying to criticize how we impose things on women and men as well. I mean, on the world and on people. To sort of construct themselves in a certain way that is normative for most of the time, because that sort of is inscribed in power structures and things that are like, making the world function in a certain way. And so for me, to use the camera is a gesture of authority, and it makes me very uncomfortable. So I've realized that taking pictures of my children during that whole process of when I stopped doing fashion photography and I decided to not take pictures anymore, and then started to take pictures of things that are around my life. I realized the power that I had when I was doing fashion photography on imposing my view, a gaze at that time that was, I was trying to negotiate with, but I was deeply influenced by the male gaze and the way that I had been constructed looking at fashion images. And also clients and art directors and people I was working with wanted me to create a certain kind of images that was like in the time being that was in fashion, or people are like, making young girls look sexy, or, like, and then so when I took when I stopped that and I took that long pause and I started using the camera on my children, I realized how powerful it was and how uncomfortable I was at imposing this vision, and also this object that is, you know, quite intimidating. And so yeah, I've been questioning that relationship with the camera ever since, and I don't use the camera much anymore. I hardly ever shoot people anymore. So that's why in resurfacing, I've turned the camera on to me. Because, for example, that image on the right of my daughter's legs reading a book in the car, I've been so criticized for making that images. There's so much like shame on me for making that images, where I wanted to show something extremely free in her position, because at that age, at 14, 15, you just use your body in a super free way, because you don't know that putting yourself in that position expose you to a certain danger or a certain vision people, put on that way of using your body. Mm-hmm. So for me, this was like a way of freeing her and young girls of just using their body as they wish. But there is a danger in that. And I realize my position is complicated. As a mother, as a photographer, I have a certain power to impose things and have a certain authority. So so I hardly use a camera to take pictures of people anymore, because I'm not sure where I stand anymore in that relationship. I'm very uncomfortable to tell people how to behave in front of the camera, and then I'm very uncomfortable showing the world or putting in the world images of something I have seen that might not be of my, that might not be my right to show the world. So of someone else intimacy or someone else, moment in life that they don't want to share. So it still is a very complicated relationship that I have with the camera.
If you could come back, you would remove this picture or not? The one in the right?
No, I don't regret anything. I actually, I assume everything I've done and I've shown. I think it's an important picture. It's been really seen a lot and posted a lot, and people have. Most people actually quite like that image for different reasons. Some people think it's sexy, and it's like, oh, it's sexy. That's not the reason why I think they should like that picture. But sorry, I'm getting.
Yeah, don't worry.
Yeah, so no, I totally feel, I don't look back. I don't look back, and I actually love this image. But I just think it's a complicated image to read for different reasons.
But I think it's a really important picture inside this work. Because it's not that it's a work with 20 of these pictures. It's just one, mainly. It's just this one. But it's inside a really, like a flow of really natural poses and nature, and also pictures that are really in contrast with the fashion photography and everything. Mm-hmm. And also pictures that are not built for, please the eye of the viewer, like this one.
Yeah.
And I think these are important pictures because it's a picture that remember us, that you treat this picture in the same way of the others, but the problem is the eye of the viewer. Like
Yeah,
it's completely full of this kind of pictures in different contexts, made with different purpose. And if you see as a viewer a picture like this one, it's someone that want to be sexy, or it's the photographer that want to be sexy. And I think it's really important in a work like this to show pictures like this one, because as you said, like it's just a completely natural pose of a teenager. There is nothing sexual if you don't want to see it.
yeah, exactly.
So I love it. I think it's probably this pair. It's one of my favorite part of the book because of the book. Like inside
Yeah.
the project, it works so well. One fast. You decided to mix black and white and colors. Why? How did it work in your
Yeah,
mind?
I get this question all the time.
Yeah,
Every
of course.
time I talk about my books, people ask me, and I never know exactly what to say. I think it's just very natural for me to use both. I don't use strong colors. It's not something I do in general. It's not a palette I'm using, like strong saturated colors. But I like to in certain cases the colors are important. Like I feel like there's elements in this book, like this image, this spread is really about like a duality. So the black and white really works well here because it's about contrast. It's about how everything is in this in this world sometimes black or white, and then in this case the baby's and then the black, and it's just very important for me that it's black and white. But in other cases where, for example, the girl with the pink hair and the image of I think it's you've shown it before. Like it's just yeah. So the pink hair, you just that.
Which one?
You've passed it. I can't tell if it's before or after. I think it's later.
It's
But
later.
yeah, there. So see this image for me, this needs to be, the pink flowers and then the pink air. The color here is necessary. It's necessary to talk about this this relationship to femininity and youth with color. So it's just a necessity for me. And these two books are, for me, they brought me to use both, and it's a natural thing for me. I use both color and black and white, more and more black and white, in some ways, but for those two books, color was necessary for sure.
Do you have a specific music to suggest to listen while watching this book?
Yeah, I was thinking about two artists that I really love. I mean, I'm a big fan of piano. I'm not a big. I'm a as I said, this book has a lot of melancholy, and I like melancholic music. And so I was thinking of two artists that I really love. One is Canadian. It's Patrick Watson, and I love his music. A lot of piano and very like aerial voice. And the other one is from the Netherlands, I think. I never know how to say his name, but it's a piano composer. It's Joep Beving. So Joepbeving. So Joep Beving is a piano composer, and I think for me, those are the two best musics to look at the book.
And do you learn something during the process of making this project that can help other photographers to do a better job?
Yeah, I was thinking about that question, and I think for me, there's so many books and photo books in the world. I think when making a book, you have to not think about your ego. You have to make a book that really means something for you and that you're ready to live with forever, because books are there forever. An exhibition, it comes down, and then maybe documentation will stay, but a book is an object that will always remains in people's home, in libraries, in places, and you have to feel comfortable living with it forever. So whether it's the difficult subject or or to the contrary, something very light, you want to ask yourself if you are fine living with this being in the world forever and for other people to see it.
Can you suggest us one or more books to invite in a future episode?
Yeah, I saw that maybe you have them on your list already, or maybe you are planning to meet them. But I've seen that there's a lot of them that you've already interviewed, like
This is good.
Louise Desnos, I don't know how she says her name, but also Tim Carpenter and Tracy Chandler and all my good friends from DeadBeat. But I was thinking, I don't know if she's on your list already, but you absolutely have to meet Ruth Laura Manetti. Have you met her or have her on your list?
No? What book?
I Imagine It Empty.
It's not the first time that I hear this title.
It's one of the most beautiful books, and she's an incredible woman. So I think it would be my number one recommendation. And if not, there's a long list of women that I think could be interesting for you to meet. But Ruth Laura Manetti, which published I Imagined It Empty in 2024, is a fantastic person and book.
Great, I wrote it down. The phantom question. Ask yourself a question and give yourself an answer.
Oh, well, what is the next book about?
What?
What is my next book about? That would be my question.
Yeah, amazing.
To myself. And the answer is, I think it will be a more direct relationship and abstract composition of bodies in spaces and open and urban and nature spaces, so it will be a more abstract reflection on the relationship to female bodies in spaces.
I'm really curious. I really want to see it.
Me too.
Especially after this too. Like it seems a quite natural evolution. I'm really, really curious.
Yeah. Well, I'm starting to think about it, but there's really not much done. I'm pretty sure the images are mostly done, but I haven't been working at all on. I've been working on the idea of and on reflecting on what will be the next project. But yeah, I'm gonna start working on that in 2026.
Amazing. We will waiting for it all together.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, Maude. Amazing episode.
Yeah.
Really curious we also have to set a date for the next one. But I definitely want to do it.
Okay, cool. Well, maybe we can exchange, but I think in about a month, because I'm coming back from Paris on the November 18th. So from November 20 until 28, that would be good, somewhere in there.
We're going to record it soon. So also you listeners, stay updated. And yeah.
Sure. When are you publishing this one?
Soon.
Okay, very cool.
So,
sorry, I didn't get.
So,
okay.
Goodbye to everyone that listen this episode. Goodbye to Maude, and see you soon. Ciao, Maude.
Thank you so much, Gabriele. It was a pleasure. Thank you.
Ciao.
Take care. Bye.